So, first question, Rabbi. Many people refer to this area as the West Bank, but you refer to it as Judea and Samaria.
Right.
Why is it so important for many Jewish people to live in this area?
Well, first thing, the reference is important itself. Words are important today. Words put a title on something, and then you know how to react to it. If you say West Bank, what you really mean is it's somehow ex parte, not part of Israel, and illegitimate in some way or belonging to somebody else. And we don't like that because we think it's the heart of legitimacy, the heartland of the Jewish people. And you're right now sitting in a place that for the last 3,000 years was called Judea. The tribe of Judah lived here in the Persian Empire. They called this Yehud Medinta, the Jewish state, but Judea was this region. And so this has been known as Judea forever and ever. And I think we should be very proud of that name. That's our heritage. I don't think anybody should want to erase that amazing heritage. You know, this is our third Commonwealth here. It's an important piece of information. It's not often said enough by the state of Israel, but it should be said this is our third Commonwealth, our third time being here. We were here 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. We lost because of colonialism, Roman colonialism, Byzantine colonialism, Islamic colonialism, Crusader colonialism, Mamluk colonialism, Turkish colonialism, British colonialism, Jordanian colonialism. We lost our land to all kinds of folks, and we're back. It's actually pretty awesome. We think of it as one of the most exciting times in Jewish history to be back living in these places. So we're very excited about it. We want it to be called the name that it's supposed to be, which is Judea.
You're saying not only do Jewish people belong here, but this entire region, which some people call the West Bank, to your mind, is part of Israel.
I'll just tighten that by saying it's the heart of Israel. This is the area that if our forefathers and mothers were dreaming of coming back to the Holy Land, to the land of Israel, they were thinking of these places. You're sitting right now, Holly, in Efrat. Efrat is the sister city of Bethlehem. Bethlehem is Beit Lechem. That's where the book of Ruth was written. That's where King David pranced about as a child and wrote the Psalms later on. This is the heart of it. This is where we're really, really, really from. Our very name is associated. The names of these places, like Beit Lechem, means the house of bread. This is where Boaz and Ruth met here in these fields right here. So it's extremely, it's really part of our DNA. And I think a lot of times when people don't understand that, they somehow think that we're somehow these white colonialist interlopers. And nothing could be further than the truth. We are Middle East people. We were kicked out of this land. We're back. We're really a decolonialization project. And so this is really the heart of our story.
Many people regard the settlements as illegal under international law. How do you respond to that?
Well, I went to law school and studied these things. I think it's actually pretty simple. Not only are settlements not illegal, but again, as I said before, this is the heartland of our peoplehood, and the world recognized, not granted, recognized our rights here in 1917 Balfour Declaration, 1920 San Remo Accords, 1922 Mandate for Palestine, i.e. mandate for a Jewish Palestine, that was signed on by all the countries of the League of Nations. That's really where we have international law rights. We have far superior international law rights than almost any other country in the world on a piece of land. We are the essential indigenous. I call us the original aboriginals. Okay? We are the originals of this place. We have every right to be in this land. We have every right to live here. We've also purchased a lot of land here, purchased it from absent Arab landowners. We also won it in defensive wars, which is an international law principle. When a war is made on you and you push back your enemy, you hold on to a piece of land, you have a right to it. And we have many, many sources of rights, including the recognition of our history here, our indigeneity by the international community. So we have many sources of rights, but the bottom line is we know it, and if other people don't know it, that's their problem. We know that we're from here. We know this is our land. We know it's nobody else's land.
In this region, which you call Judea and Samaria and other people refer to as the West Bank, there's been an uptick in violent clashes between settlers and Palestinians since the October 7th attacks. What do you think the cause of that is?
I think you said it in the question. The October 7th attacks was a massive jihad onslaught onto the communities surrounding Gaza. And we have here, sadly, Arabs who have succumbed to the Palestinian narrative have succumbed to the idea that that they have a right to forcibly murder and destroy Jews in order to get what they want, which is us off of this land. And it's a bullying tactic. It's a jihadist tactic. And so that's what the source of the clash is. Just today, as we're filming this morning, there were men and women and children standing at a bus stop next to Ma'ale Adumim. They were mowed down by jihadists. Now, the jihadists are not looking for rights, and they're not looking for equalities, and they're not looking for a piece of land to live side by side next to Israel. They're looking to destroy Israel. That's what they say. That's what their jihadist propaganda says. That's what their maps say. That's what they do in all their videos. We know what Hamas stands for. They stand for jihadism. They stand for suppression and supersessionism. And so they want this land because it bothers them that we're here on what they think of as formerly Islamic lands. And so it's a religious war. And that's what's happening here. So, okay, it's a Middle East. It's a hot area. And you push against us. We're going to push back.
So to your mind, it's never the fault of Jewish settlers when there are violent clashes. It's always the fault of the Palestinians.
I think the word fault is a very Western type of word. Whose fault is it? Bottom line is we have a land conflict. We have a land conflict. And so there's tensions. It's a tense place. We have a land conflict. We have two different ethnic groups vying for the same piece of land. So one day it's this and one day it's that. But the bottom line, we have a conflict over whose land it is and who's going to control it. And so that causes friction and tension.
How should that conflict be resolved in this area?
Well, if you look at the map of the Middle East, you'll see that there are 400 million Arabs living on 22 Arab states, and then many other Muslim states that are very big. And then you have a tiny armed ethnic minority called Israel. It's a tiny piece of land within the broader Arab world and Muslim world. And so we think that the pathway to peace is very simple, which is a strong Israel, a strong, small Israel, Jewish state, surrounded by Arab countries that are strong and on their land, working in cooperation for a better region. It's not to cut half of Israel up and then wait for the rest to be taken over by the jihadist hordes. Sometimes when I talk to people, especially Asian people, I say to them, what is Taiwan's problem? All you have to do is give half of Taiwan, a tiny little island next to giant China. Just cut up half of Taiwan, give it to China, there'll be peace. And everybody laughs because it's so absurd. It's such an absurd statement. We all understand that giant China wants to eat up tiny Taiwan. So too Israel. There's a giant Arab and Muslim world, a chunk of which is jihadist. They want to swallow us up, and they want to do it in pieces because they think they'll get it in pieces with the help of the international community. And so we stand against that. We stand against cutting up this land. We stand against the Palestine on our land, and we're going to push back on them. We will forever push back on them and hold on and push for our rights.
Does that mean that you feel that the best solution would be for all Palestinians to leave the Gaza Strip and leave the West Bank and move to other majority Arab states?
Jihadists have no right in this land.
What about
jihadists
who are not jihadists?
Exactly. Jihadists who hate Israel and want to destroy it have no rights to be in this land or near it on its borders. Pro-Israel, non-jihadist Arabs who want to live and succeed here, we say, ahlan wa sahlan, mabruk, welcome. We say, welcome to this land, absolutely. And we'll figure out ways to make everybody have upward mobility and success. But the jihadists, which is what we're fighting, they got to go. And decent people who want to live in decency and with upward mobility and success, of course, welcome. We have no problem with those people. Look at the Druze community. Look how well they're faring in Israel. Look at many Arabs. There are many Arabs. We just had an Arab speaker here in this town talking about how she hates the jihad and how she wants to move forward with a life in Israel. And we say, welcome. We say we want to accord you every opportunity. But haters can't stay here. We can't have that. We're a post-Holocaust people. Okay? We were almost destroyed 80 years ago. We can't allow that to happen again. And we have to keep our eyes open. This is a region where you can't be a sucker. You can't be a sucker. You can't be like, oh, the international community this and human rights that. Those are all foes, veils to try to get us off of our land. And we are not going to fall for that. We know how this region works. Our brothers, the Kurds in Kurdistan, in autonomous Kurdistan region, they understand the same thing. They understand that they have to be a defensive minority in this region. That's the only way to survive.
There have been reports suggesting that the US government is considering unilaterally recognizing a Palestinian state. What's your reaction to that?
We're going to fight it at every level. We're going to fight at every level. We're going to marshal all the millions of Americans who stand against that idea, who understand that this is a progressive, jihadist, anti-Bible, anti-history, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic move by the Biden administration. And the Biden administration will eventually fall, and we will roll back on this international type of strong arm bullying tactic. We won't let that stand.
When you say you're going to marshal people against it, what will you be asking them to do?
It's democracy. You get people to rally, you get people to vote out those kind of people. You push back on them. You push back on them in myriads and myriads of ways, but you make sure that that this lobby, which is on the wrong axis, it's on the axis of Russia and China and Iran and Palestine, so-called. These are axes that want to undermine the order, the rightful order of things. And we will push back on that. And it's very sad that the U.S. administration is going against the will of the majority of American people who stand with Israel and want to see Israel successful and strong.
Americans are able to, as I understand it, sort of donate money through charities to settlements in this area. How important is that for the Jewish people who are living here, those donations that come in from the U.S.?
Money makes the world go around. It helps us build. But listen, we have a very wealthy state, thank God, with $500 billion a year GDP. We have brothers and sisters living around the world and lovers of Israel, not just Jews, and non-Jewish lovers of Israel throughout the world that want to be part of the project. It's really something that gives them an opportunity to be part of the growth that they seek to see. So how important is it? It's a blessing. And we bless those people back.
I think I saw that you were involved in one particular quite prominent group, the Hebron Fund. So, is that just sort of, do those donations just help people like build houses, or like sort of how do Americans help the settlements? How do American donations help the settlements?
Again, I don't like that word settlements. I don't agree with it. That's okay. We call it communities, and we wouldn't want to make it look like some kind of tricky, conniving thing. There's nothing untoward about it. We have beautiful communities like this one, Efrat, and we want to see them thrive and grow. So we need playgrounds, we need schools, and we need tourism and education. We need beautification. I am involved in a lot of beautification, just to make things lovely. And so people around the world want parks, want kindergartens, they want school books, and so they help support that.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Really interesting.
Great. Anything else?
We need to get a lovely two-shot of you and I chatting here.
Lovely.
It's colder than I thought it was.
It's cold up here. It's cold in the mountains. Yeah.
It's elevated, isn't it?
It's the highest part of Israel.
Really interesting.
If you go up to that hilltop over there, you look down, you'll see all of Tel Aviv. It's all below you. These are important things.
Ollie, can you look at?
Sorry.
No worries.
I was just looking at the lovely scenery.
Where are you from in Australia?
I'm from Tasmania.
Oh, Tasmania. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. I've never actually been there, but I've wanted to.
There's a very rich Jewish history in Tasmania.
Is there?
Yeah. The earliest synagogues in Australia were both built in Tasmania.
Wow.
One of them's very beautiful. It's like an Egyptian revival building.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get there one day. Not a lot to do out there, though. I don't know.
It's quiet. And it's far. Let's be honest.
It's so far. When I remember I landed in Perth, the door to the plane opened, and it was like the outside, and I was like, what is that smell? And it was fresh air.
Yeah, it does smell different.
I was like, what is that?
It's the US smell like that as well. There's a Californian smell when you get out of the city.
Yeah. But there's something about Perth. It's really like,
it's very isolated.
It's
kind of a
unbelievable.
weird town, actually. But
It's cool though. It's cool. Yeah. Tasmania. We'll see. Maybe we'll get out there one day. You have another question for me?
Yeah.
Why don't you ask something about, the Bible and or the temple or the Temple Mount or issues that people are upset about all the time?
Because I think we probably won't get in. I don't want to spin your wheels. I think that's probably not what we're going to use.
You know what you're doing.
But we hadn't realized how how many Americans live in this town, in Efrat. It's really interesting. You're saying 50% Anglo, but I guess a large
40,
proportion
50%
of that
Anglo.
is
Yeah,
American, I would
sure.
think, because we've just bumped into several Americans down there.
Well, America is where the majority of Anglos are.
Yeah.
Jewish Anglos.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those towns, and there's others. There's a few others. There's this one also, Neve Daniel, is also predominantly American.
Wow.
Right there, you see it?
Yeah.
Beautiful town. Yeah, American Jews. Let's talk about Aliyah. Why don't you ask about that?
They're all making Aliyah, aren't they? I mean, these guys are moving from the States and moving to towns
Who's
like
all?
this.
Who are they all?
The guys who move here.
Yeah.
They're making Aliyah.
Yeah.
The Americans who...
That's what Aliyah
are
means.
making Aliyah.
Yeah. It's just
And would they typically move directly from the US to Efrat? Or would they move somewhere else first and then maybe move here?
No. This is an amazing landing spot. Amazing landing. You couldn't ask for a better landing.
Yeah.
Community that appreciates you, beautiful, great air, green. What could you ask for?
And already a big Anglo community
Yeah,
here.
what could you ask for?
Probably
It's fabulous.
Easy to fit in.
This community was started by Anglos. Rabbi Riskin, it's a whole story. Rabbi Riskin moved from New York, moved out here.
It was founded by Jewish Americans.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and a very, we're very proud of that. Chose to leave America. America, good country. Good to live in, very good to live in. Maybe the best in the world. You know what I'm talking about. And so these people chose to leave. Why? Not because of persecution, and because they wanted to live in this beautiful land and connect to the spirit, connect to the history.
Do you love living here?
I don't think the word love is sufficient to explain the feelings. It's if I speak right now to a native type person, God bless you, wherever you're from and your history, you know what I mean? And we all have different histories, but when I speak to people like Persians, Indians, Chinese, native type peoples, ancestral type peoples that have a long history on the land. So the word love is not sufficient because it's not like I really love it. It's not like that. It's much more like I am part of it. It is part of my DNA. I am in the right place under the heavens and above the soil, and it is organic. It's a feeling of I am part of an organism of history.
You feel you really belong here. That's simple.
Yeah, and the deepest way possible, on a textual, historical, visual, every topographical, every kind of way that I could tell you that you feel a belonging. That's how we feel here. Like an Australian person in Australia cannot feel that feeling the same way.
Unless they're indigenous.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Exactly.
Really close.
That's what I mean. And I don't mean that, by the way, in a way to be.
No, you don't mean in a pejorative
right?
way.
No way at all. I just mean to say, because the majority of media in this world is like American. You know what I mean? They oftentimes just don't understand that kind of feeling. They don't understand what that means. They just don't have that experience.
Do you feel misunderstood?
Well, I mean, Holly, this interview itself, in many ways, you did a fine and professional job. I just mean to say, the very element of how we're talking is like people do not understand our motivations. They really don't, and they've bought into that we're trying to, ethnically cleanse the poor Palestinians, that we're white colonialists and the whole thing. It's really, the word misunderstood is, I would say we are disunderstood. There's a disinformation campaign out there against us. So,
I guess that's what I meant. It's not just that people, because my questions come from a place of people don't get the chance to talk to you, or people like you.
A lot of times if I go speaking...
And so it's interesting to hear your perspective on it.
That's right. And
you're saying you're also sort of the victim of a disinformation campaign.
Oh, come on. For sure. For sure. What could be more simple to the majority of people in this world than Jews living in Israel? That's like basic. It's like basic. There's nothing tricky about that. What's tricky about Jews in Judea? It's like the simplest thing in the world. Our whole Bible, the book of Ruth, one of the most beautiful books ever written. It's 4 chapters, by the way. If you didn't have a chance to read it recently, 4 chapters, very short, but beautiful, beautiful. It happens here. This is the scenery. It's written 3,000 years ago in the language that we speak today. The same language. If you ever read Old English, like Chaucer, you can't read it. It's impossible to read. It's very hard, like Beowulf. Very hard to read. Our Hebrew is the same language. So for majority of people, they know it's beautiful and miraculous. But there's been a systematic campaign to besmirch
the story of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. And our country has done a not such great job of explaining it.
Why do you think that is?
Well, that's a deep sociological thing, but let's just keep it short that some Jews have had a hard time assimilating the modern and the biblical into like a holistic, organic type of thing. And because of that, they were just unable to assimilate the two realities. And so they chose the kind of very modern reality in which they chose to promote themselves as some kind of European type place. But that was a mistake. And we're getting through it now.
Okay.
The bottom line is our government does support us here.
Mm-hmm.